The first president, Gathright, was from Mississippi. He had been the master mason in Mississippi. He was a good friend of Jefferson Davis, a very good friend of Jefferson Davis. The first presidency of A&M was offered to Jefferson Davis, and mercifully he turned it down to our benefit, and then he recommended his friend Thomas Gathright, who came to A&M. He was not allowed to choose his own faculty. The governor chose his own faculty, and what he chose was a bunch of political cronies who had been heads of other schools. And so when they all came to A&M, they knew how to run A&M better than the president. And so there was problems from the beginning. There was all kinds of problems. Not only that, the press picked it up and complained about what a waste of state money. I cannot find the state was spending any money on A&M particularly. They just weren't. And the enrollment increased duringGathright's tenure. They started out with 100 and something maybe finally, and then they wound up with 300. They had no places for these kids to live. They were living in stairwells. They were living in basements. Nobody ever really thought about a dorm. It was built as an afterthought when they built Gathright Hall. And so the school rocks along, and if you read the newspapers, it is a whipping boy of saying this is a wasted expense. They're not teaching agriculture. They're not doing this. They're a bunch of military dandies. And so it becomes this, of course, in the press, this whipping thing. Gathright exists for about 3 years. He's fighting constantly, and there's a lot of stuff in the legislature, and people are complaining that, well, so-and-so on the faculty would be better to be president than Gathright. And then the final nail in the coffin is something called the Crisp Affair, John C. Crisp. Normally what happened is that there was a list put forward, it was very pro forma, of who the cadet officers would be. I know this sounds very simple. And it was always sort of pro forma approved by the faculty. And John Crisp was nominated to be captain of Company A, called senior captain, which was at that time the leading cadet officer in the Corps of Cadets. And so it was put forward, and the faculty rejected it, and the war began. And when it was all over, there was a huge infight between the faculty and the president, and the governor stepped in, and Thomas Gathright was removed. Historical precedent. If you're the first at something, can you afford to fail? Could George Washington afford to fail? No. He failed and set the tone for the next 30, 40 years of arguments within the press. There will be numerous moves to close A&M. And so for what internal problems and external problems really retarded the school for a long, long time. Not until the 1930s, I think, does it really begin to establish itself.